not being able to read after the one at Carleton, I actually remember crying. A 22-year-old male sitting with my border collie Ella, and I was just basically holding her crying because I couldn't study for my exam. My first year in university, and I knew I was screwed. I'm Brent Sullivan, and this is my story. Come here, give me the ball. That girl. Well, I grew up in Carp, born and raised. Right now I'm in Dunrobin. It's not too far out of the city where it's a stressful drive, but at the same time it's far enough out that I get time to relax, clear my thoughts, and yeah, I love it out here, I really do. Obviously, if I was playing hockey and playing professionally and getting to live that dream out, it'd be great. But I consider myself fortunate because I know it could be a lot worse, but I definitely saw it panning out differently. I guess it was the obvious dream, you know. I didn't really have a very prominent hockey family. My father didn't play very much, and my uncle did a bit. He used to be a pretty good hockey player back in the day, and I owe a lot of credit to him for kind of being behind the scenes and teaching me some things. To be honest with you, I never really thought about doing anything else. It was always either playing or coaching, and so it was kind of the career path it was forced into me because I'm Canadian, but at the same time, it was something that I always wanted to do. Well, playing for the Ottawa Valley Titans here was something that was a goal of mine, and unfortunately, just due to circumstances that I'm not 100% sure of, I got cut a lot when I was younger, and I didn't make it until my minor Bantam year. But you know, it was I had one of my best buddies to this day. Nick Doon was a, you know, we like to call him a local legend just because he was a phenomenal player when he was younger. But he got to play for the Titans for about 5 or 6 years, and a lot of guys that I grew up playing with and against got to enjoy that for 5 years. I got a very, very short stint at 3 years, but playing for the Titans, we were a team that, you know, we'd lose maximum 2 or 3 games a year. We were always winning, and that was something that, you know, it kind of teaches you how to win and teaches you how to play as a player. And you know, so even if it was just 3 years, it was short, but it was fun to be on a winning team for sure.
So you were a local legend?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I peaked a little early, as some would say. I mean, I got to play junior university hockey and professional tryout, but, you know, local legend to grinder.
He was
20
still
years.
Yeah, he was still very good.
You know, at 16, that was a tough draft year just because, you know, it's the unknown, right? You know, it's your first time going through it, and getting picked by Sarnia. I didn't know much about Sarnia, didn't know much about the town. I knew that 60 picks earlier, Steven Stamkos went. So being drafted by the same team as him was exciting and cool. And actually, when training camp rolled around, conversations grew with Sarnia about me sticking around and playing a little bit. But I was lucky to have my father at camp with me, and he made a good point that we had a great situation back in Brockville. Todd Gill was the coach at that time, and so having a former NHL defenseman there really would have helped. I went back to Brockville, feeling pretty good about my game. I had a very, very good camp in Sarnia, and ended up starting out the year pretty well, and got an opportunity from Clarkson University actually for a full scholarship. So that whole 16-year-old year, you know, I reflect on it as being the best year of hockey I've ever had. Had a very good year statistically. You know, had some good recognition from the league, winning Rookie of the Year and such, and really got to see what it was like to be a junior hockey player. As great as the 16-year-old year was, it opened doors for changes and opened doors for new opportunities, and some stressful and nervous things had to happen. And so, best year of hockey I've ever had. If I could look back at this day, maybe there's some things I would have changed about which route I went after, but at the same time, it definitely gave me opportunities for my future. Making the sting out of camp was a goal of mine. I don't think I put myself in the best position at the start of training camp. Got a couple injuries, and just physically wise, conditioning wise, wasn't ready to compete at the highest level. So they ended up giving me a couple weeks down in Brockville to try to get my game back, and they called it a conditioning stint at the time, and was able to get called back up again, you know, a couple weeks later. But that was a real eye opener to me to realize how tough it was. And locally in Junior A, I was very fortunate to have a good 16-year-old year, but I don't think I really got tested too much. So all of a sudden at 17 to have some adversity and to have injuries and all these things I'd overcome was challenging for sure. The way I grew up, I wasn't a tough guy. I was a kid who, played with skill and played with, ability, and my 6'3", 190-pound frame was my physicality, right? I just was able to be strong. But then again, when I got to the O, I had to change my game a bit, so started to be more physical, started to hit guys. Being matched against top players, there was multiple times I had big hits on guys like Taylor Hall or Jeff Skinner and those kind of guys, just because that was what I had to do to get them off their game. The unfortunate thing is the next shift, their tough guy would come grab me. I was by no means our tough guy, but I was never a guy to say no.
Sullivan coming back with a haymaker, and you gotta love what Brett Sullivan's doing.
I have these memories of conversations with people throughout the years when I started to get some concussions, and people always making sure I was aware of the things that could happen to me. People talking about dementia, people talking about anxiety, depression, and those kind of things. I have this memory of this trainer I used to train with at the UCC when I came back one summer kind of laughing about it and not really thinking too much about concussions and saying, oh yeah, I got another one, not a big deal, I'll just have a big summer of training and go back. And then he actually mentioned the word dementia to me and said, this could start to give you side effects of dementia, early stages in Alzheimer's and such. And when you're 19, you don't want to hear that, right? It's kind of ironic that now I manage a senior care agency where I get to go see seniors every day who suffer from Alzheimer's and dementia. And so that's kind of in the back of my mind how terrifying that is. I got in a pretty bad car accident about a year and a half ago. And got my bell rung pretty good there. Really after the car accident, started to have side effects with depression. Anxiety hit me hard, which are things that don't get talked about too often, and what's unfortunate is all the stories that have came about all the former NHL tough guys that are suicidal and such, and by no means have I ever had those thoughts, but you kind of start to understand the dark side. I got one in my 19-year-old year from a fight with Anthony Camara where we each threw 20 punches, we each connected with 19.
It's Camara and Sullivan. Back here is Camara, the rookie, deciding to answer the challenge as Trocheck got tied up with Sullivan, and Camara getting his shots in against Sullivan is looking to come back with a couple of his own. Remember, Sullivan coming back from some headaches last weekend, trying to give Camara a headache or two, and finally the referee to see that's enough, so the linesmen take over and separate them out, and they'll sit 5 apiece.
It was a fight where you could clearly tell that I didn't know how to strategically fight. I just wanted to throw, and didn't affect me in the moment. But about half an hour later, during the intermission, I was over top of a sink trying to throw up, and so that one really messed me up. Actually, ended my season about 2 months early.
For Christmas, I'd like to have a new brain.
I was already labeled at that point, which was unfortunate. I had received probably about 4 concussions in my first 2.5 years with Sarnia. At that time, it was a running joke, right? Because I personally thought I was okay. About 2 months later, though, I received the one from the fight, and that's when it started to get really serious. So I said, okay, now I have concussion issues. So at the time, it was kind of a joke. But it's unfortunate that joke kind of became a reality, I guess. Spending so long in one town, I had zero desire to leave it. It was a very, very tough career there in Sarnia with all the injuries and just everything that went on. I was emotionally drained. I had nothing left, and really had hoped I could just finish my career there, enjoy my time, and leave it as is. An opportunity arose where Sarnia could trade me to Windsor. So Windsor was competing, as they always do, for a Mem Cup. Great opportunity for me. The tough thing is that 1, I didn't want to leave Sarnia. 2, Windsor was coming to town that night, and I was about to play against my team in 7 hours. People called me Papa Sull at times because I was just that guy, right? And I was a 20-year-old veteran who had been around the block and was a big part of that team. And so having to all of a sudden remove myself from that and then immediately turn around and play them was the worst thing I could ever imagine. I was pretty upset with the trade. I didn't necessarily want it. Pretty emotional about it. So was just overall hurt by the -5, hurt by leaving the team that I essentially was my home, and immediately actually. So when I got to Windsor, had a workout with the team, and then immediately was traded from Windsor, who was the first place team in the West at the time, to the 10th place team in the West, the Sioux Greyhounds. At the time, again, with everything that had happened with the injuries, I was exhausted. I was not having a good year. I'd already committed to Carleton. I was coming to Carleton regardless. I was very, very upset because the deadline was at 12. I was told at 1 o'clock I was traded. Nothing could be changed about it. It was basically you go to the Sioux or you don't play. I basically said, I'm not going, and you can tell the Sioux that. And so the Sioux was very understanding, and my agent was understanding, just knowing everything I'd been through, knowing how tough it was. So I ended up getting an opportunity just to play for the local farm team, the Legionnaires in Sarnia. Was a little bit of a fan favorite, was a little bit of a loved one there in Sarnia. So got the opportunity to just go play 10 games and try to enjoy hockey again. And that really is what helped me. And honestly, I went there just to have fun. The tough thing is that because of everything, I leave with a bit of a sour taste. But I still think the potential's there. I think it's a great league. I think that kids get the opportunity to be treated like a pro. I didn't like the way that I left. I left extremely ticked off. I left extremely upset. There were some things behind the scenes, like me having a no trade clause that didn't get addressed when the trade happened and such, that left me very, very sour. I had this lingering back issue from 16. I've had a herniated disc in my L3 since I was 16 years old. That limited my range of motion, limited my ability to really perform any of the appropriate movements to be a hockey player. I can barely squat. Hockey players are known to squat. I can barely extend my legs. Hockey players are known to have long strides. And so it limited me to what I could do. So after my last season in Sarnia, I tried a different model of training going into Carleton. I did a lot more running. I was training for 10Ks with my dad, and a little less lifting, and kind of just trying to slim down and basically become that mobile kid I was. Probably the worst thing I could do for my training, because all it did was flare my back. And during my training camp at Carleton, I remember there was one skate where I had to keep trying to figure out how I could get down to tie my skates because my back hurt so much. And so I ended up calling a doctor from Sarnia and just said, I can't move, what do I do? And he said that if you continue to do this, it could get worse, and you might not be able to tie your own shoes one day. So at that point, I said, okay. I hate myself to this day for doing this to Marty Johnson in Carleton, but basically decided to take a year to try to let myself heal. And I basically said that I needed to step away because it had been an extremely tough 4 years of junior. Every single year going through a serious injury, every single year going through a brain injury. Retired in, I believe that was September 2011. That year I got my first coaching opportunity with Legionnaires. I'm around the rink every single day. You miss the sport, you want to be a part of it, still have that competitive edge. I was only 21, so I ended up going and seeing a trainer in about April-ish in Sarnia, and just tried to start moving again, tried to start doing some movements, and that trainer ended up saying, like, you could probably do this if you really wanted to. Immediately called Marty at Carleton because if I was going to come back, that was the right thing to do, to go to Carleton. It wasn't to go anywhere else because I gave them my word the year before. So called Marty, we ended up meeting for lunch. I had definitely packed on a couple pounds since our last conversation, but basically I had 3 months to get in shape and be ready to go. Ended up, I think I lost 43 pounds in 3 months. It was pretty substantial, and I committed myself fully to doing the best I could to make a comeback. Unfortunately, about 6 weeks in, 3 regular season games in, took a nasty hit, blindside right to the chin. When the shoulder hit me, I was out. I was lights out, and then I so happened to smack my head on the ice pretty good too. that one was horrendous as far as the side effects that came from it. Was unable to read for a while, which was terrifying, and that's what definitely ended my career, was the fact knowing that it was affecting things away from the rink now. Another calendar year later, another coaching stint later, you find the passion again. Tried to start moving again. I was playing shinny, and I was very light because I was running a lot, and I was in very, very good shape. So I wanted to try to come back again. Just was getting too much pain in the neck and head. So probably January of 2014 is when I really have not looked back from it since.
It just sucks because, the guy had so much going. Everyone, had the interest. Sully, Brett Sullivan, this, and as soon as it started getting hurt, they started to wonder and just kind of push him to the back burner, and he made hell of a friggin' effort coming back his first year at Carleton, and I was lucky to see it and be a part of it. And the guy, you could say he's probably at your worst, mentally and physically there.
Yeah, that was probably the worst it's been. Yeah. Having to retire from the game you love and basically all will put me in a very, very dark place. I used to always, I always thought the word anxiety got tossed around so easily because I always thought it was something that was kind of self-labeled until you go through it yourself. And days where I had to leave work because I couldn't breathe, sleepless nights, days where you're riding on an hour of sleep, and it's a terrible thing. I'm kind of stuck now, and I wish that I was better protected after my years in the OHL for medical reasons, whether it was insurance and stuff like that. I don't really know how all that can play out, but I just know that because there was no awareness, because I'm one of the little guys, I'm a little bit in a pickle now. With Crosby getting all his, with all the stuff going on in the NHL now, like I said before, it took somebody with so much attention to get a hit, to get some awareness around this brutal thing to talk about. However, prior to that, I was going through my struggles. I was going through my tough times. I was going through my mental illness and struggling personally, but I was just a junior kid that as soon as I started getting some, people kind of forgot about. After the first period, I immediately took my helmet and gloves off and went to the sink and was splashing water on my face because I just felt out of it. At the time, in the moment, when you can't read, you don't know how long that's going to last. In that moment, I probably thought I'll never be able to read again. The people that have been around for the last 20 years of my life, a lot of people would say I'm probably different in the last 10 years just because things have changed. I've had brain injuries, and so it affects the person you are. It affects your mood. It affects the way you speak, the way you think, the way you react. And just your overall demeanor. I mean, I've had conversations with good people who have asked me, what happened to you? You were such a good player. Why couldn't you pull it all together? And for those that have faced the demons of brain injuries, they'll be able to side with me. I'm sure there's some that are struggling and just haven't wanted to either tell their story or talk about it, but I definitely know I'm not the only one going through this.
And here we go, Belding lands a couple shots and gets the takedown as well.
Never wanted to be a fighter initially. I played junior B, and I remember I was very nervous when I started the season because I knew there was fighting, and I never experienced that before in my life. I remember talking to the goalie and the team saying, I just want to get the first fight out of the way just to know that I can handle myself and I won't be scared out there. So that year I had 2 fights, but again, not planned. I wasn't an enforcer by any means. It just happened during the game, and you don't even remember what happened just because there's so much adrenaline. And then the next year I got that tryout with the Gatineau Olympic. And I remember in the off season a lot of guys saying, you're a big kid, you're going to have to fight, you're going to have to fight. So when people lose sleep, for one game, one night, and if they have to fight the next game, well, this is a whole summer of preparation. Me just being anxious that I might have to fight. I was able to get a tryout the next season with OHL's Mississauga Steelheads. And they were looking for, they had a young team, they were looking for an enforcer. I remember I got hit right here, and it actually split my head open under my helmet, and I blacked out in the fight. And I woke up, and it was like we woke up in a dream, and I was still standing, still in the fight. going into my first year of CIS hockey, I went to some pro, just import tryouts and agency training camps, just try to get a feel for what teams might be interested after university, or what leagues might be a good place to look to find a place to play after school. And in these camps, I got in a few fights and a black eye and headache, and I remember I sat down with a coach and he said, you might have a spot to play here, like in the East Coast League, but it's not guaranteed. You won't make much money, and you have to fight every night. That was just a big eye opener for me, so that maybe hockey isn't necessarily the way I want to go, considering the type of player that I am. So I no longer play hockey. I decided not to play, and that was the biggest factor. It was just seeing a lot of the guys that end up forgotten as players after they get concussions, seeing a lot of the cases in the NHL, the NFL, and then saying, like, what, maybe it's not all it's cracked up to be. It kind of started in high school after I had concussions when I was in high school, but basically, like, when I'd wake up in the morning at 20/20 vision, get my vision tested 20/20 every time. But if I had an exam that day and I had to study, after 2 hours of studying, my eyes would be tired and I'd have to take a break and just close my eyes and just rest for a while before an exam. So there's this one exam, and it was an elective course. I thought it would be an easy exam. I studied for 3 days for it, felt prepared. Going into the exam, it was like a 180 multiple choice question, and I got through the first 100 fine, and then all of a sudden I couldn't focus the words anymore. And they're just, I tried, and it just wouldn't work.
The OHL has done a fantastic job, and this is actually the CHL as a whole, providing educational packages for their players. That's something that really hurts to this day, that I was unable to finish schooling because of the last hit. Still to this day, if I were to go into university class, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's tough, and people probably don't understand that it is a medical reason. It's not like I just chose to not go to school. I would have loved to go to school, and I tried multiple times. It's handcuffed me a bit for my life, and as far as what I'm going to do for the future. I have to kind of figure that out on my own. If at 16 I knew that by 24, I guess, that I'd be retired looking for work without an education, that would frighten the heck out of me, and I probably would go get an education. It'd be the first thing I would have done. At the time, had no idea what I was going to do. Growing up, everyone always asked me what I wanted to do, and I wanted to be a hockey player. Hockey player was number one, but I also was always told growing up that I was going to be a good coach. I was coaching out in Surrey, had a goalie that I wanted to come play here, and ended up calling Patrick and I made today.
I wasn't even in the process of finding a coach. I was quite early into just my overall planning. He reached out.
And conversations progressed to, me asking who his staff was, got into conversations about potentially me joining.
I said, sure, let's meet.
And then all of a sudden it was basically, okay, Patrick wanted to talk to me, and I was 4,400 kilometers away, and I had to make a decision if I wanted to do this.
And we started talking more about what the coaching position means here at OU.
So decided to make the trek back.
It was pretty obvious right off the bat that he was the right person for this position.
I think this is a fantastic opportunity, and that's the word that Patrick's used from day one, is that for everybody involved, players, coaches, management, anybody, the opportunity to build something, to rebuild a reputation, to rebuild a program, and essentially watch these guys grow from the ground up is truly special. We've done much better than a lot of people would think. Knocking off some of the top teams in the country, being able to compete every single night with essentially a whole team of freshmen and a couple guys who have been kicking around. The opportunity's there, could not be happier, and I hope to continue to grow with it. We can actually thank the best player in the world, having gone through it, to all of a sudden raise this awareness and raise these questions and raise the protocols and see if, are we doing the right things? Are there things that we can change? Are there things that we can do better? I like the way they're dealing with things now. I like how you have to go sit in a dark room. I like how these blindside hits and such, hits to the head are immediately suspendable. I think that they're doing a good job policing it. It's unfortunate that when I went through all my stuff was prior to that. What I find personally unfortunate is that there's nothing to protect us now, you know. My life is affected. I'm not going to be able to get a job I probably would have been able to get if I hadn't received these concussions, or if I hadn't gone and been able to get an education. Unfortunately, it's going to limit me. Do I think that's fair? No. Do I think that I'm more than capable to do certain things than others that may have a piece of paper after doing 4 years of schooling? Absolutely. But because of these issues, because of these concussions and these head hits, and maybe the protocol wasn't so good back then, it's affected me to this day. Sometimes I only have answers for people. They could ask how I'm feeling, and I could be feeling fine. They could ask how I'm doing, I could be doing fine. But it doesn't necessarily mean I'm 100%. It terrifies you. You know, you never know what's going to happen down the road. And I mentioned things like early stages of dementia and Alzheimer's the other day that could potentially eventually come my way. All the mental health concerns and struggles are something that, you know, I don't know how I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I just know that I'm not back to normal yet. And I honestly, I'll be completely transparent in the sense I don't think I will get back to normal. I don't think it's something that you can fully recover from, especially with the amount that I've had. Doctors say 14, okay? I personally, I don't think it's anywhere north of 6 or 7. Reason being is that once you start to get within one medical staff, okay, so I was in the same place for 4 years, right? So as soon as I got my first year, there's a little bit of a little asterisk beside my name. Like I got whiplash once. Whiplash gives you headaches, hurts your neck. You know, the word concussion gets thrown around again. So doctors say 14, I say between 6 and 8. You know, I was actually really fortunate that 14, 8, 6, whatever number you want to say, the amount of concussions I've had, I haven't had as bad of effects or damage that I should. I talk pretty well for a guy for 14 concussions or 6 concussions. Again, we'll just say a lot. I can still operate. I can still get a job. I can still do a lot of things that, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people out there with 2 or 3 can't. And, you know, some people get 1 concussion and it'll mess them up for life. I continually knock on wood to this day, just knowing that I've definitely dodged a bullet. I'm more myself at the rink, I guess you could say. The word sanctuary is a good word because it's where I'm most comfortable.
Spent 2 months with you and you're already a better player. You're welcome.
One of our players the other day actually said to me that I make hockey fun again. Get out of here. Hey, I went glove on you hard once though, eh? That's something that kind of touches the heart, because I come to the rink and I'm joyful every day, regardless of what's going on at home, regardless of what's going on in my head. I always bring a good attitude because I know it's contagious. I know that if I'm happy and I'm upbeat and I'm bringing energy and I'm hooting and hollering and whatever, the guys will respond well.
He's good to motivate the guys.
Capiche? Let's go.
He's good to keep the guys in check.
Let's be listening, eh? That's an easy exit. We reverse that puck.
He's great to lighten the mood.
You're not shaving for November?
Oh, I didn't have time.
You didn't have time to shave.
I think because of his personality, he's able to connect with the guys quite easily.
He's almost like one of the guys, but he still has the respect of being a coach.
Oh, too easy. Too easy. Ne pas de goal.
When they found out I was mic'd up in the practice as well as on the bench, they have a lot of fun with that. One kid was trying to tell me I had bad breath.
Hey, your breath stinks, eh?
Is it really? It smells like Halls.
It stinks. You should get it gone.
He's a knowledgeable guy, and you know, I think the players respect him a lot for that. And you know, he's a good players coach.
All right, lads, let's be good here, eh? Let's be good here. Dodzy, are you ready for this? Are you ready? That's where it starts here. Take on me. Take on me.
You could always think and wonder what could have been. I didn't want to change my style to protect myself, which, if I thought about it now, if I had known that at 26 I'd be retired and coaching because of the way I played, may have changed things. But, you know, at 18, 19, I didn't know it would affect me. So I think, you kind of think you're invincible.
You know, the whole chasing the dream is kind of, you know, you kind of go above and beyond a lot of the times, I think, when, you know, you're trying to play through things.
Nice
speed by Sullivan instead of moving the shot.
I saw my life panning out differently. At the same time, I'm living a different dream. You know, I love coaching, and that was definitely an alternative route, I guess you could say. You know, it may sound sappy, but they're a bit of a dream as well. I always wanted to have some dogs and live out in the country. If I didn't have those dogs, I don't know, like they brighten up my day a lot of the time, and they're a lot of fun, that's for sure. That was great. I use the rink as a really big getaway, I really do, and so that's why my mood in the rink is different than my mood anywhere else. I'm outgoing, I'm happy, I enjoy being there, and that's why I'd love to make it a career, because I know that it's kind of my scapegoat. It's my way to relieve any kind of internal issues I got going on.
Shot! Shot! Oh, bury it.
I'm good enough now to enjoy life, so I think that I'm good, but I don't think I'm as good as I was before. There you go. Oh, bad throw, bad throw. Regardless of everything that happened, I by no means hold anything against the sport and against the game. You know, it was my first love, and it's something that's, you know, I'll always want to be a part of.